I am going to kick this off. I said I was going to start at 5 after the hour, but for the people that joined on time, I'm going to kick it off. Welcome to the July I2B2 community meeting. We're really excited to have you here. These meetings are recorded and the slides will be available on our website afterwards for folks that are not able to join. So I'm going to kick it off. Here is what we are going to be talking about today, if I can advance my slide. I'm going to give just a real quick general update, foundation update, give a couple of highlights about the symposium that was only 1 month ago in Boston, a note on a few open board seats that we have for our board of directors. We want to let you know that we're going to be going to the Odyssey conference in October. We've had a number of abstracts that have been accepted, so we're pretty excited about that. And then I want to make a pitch to the community to really think about showcasing your own work around I2B2 and using the community as a way to do that. So I've got some ideas there. So, and then Jeff Klann, we just released a new version of I2B2 1.8.3. So Jeff will walk through what's in that release and do a demo. And then also super excited about our new website that has just been launched, and Mitch will walk through that and give you a demo. All right, general announcements. So for those of you that were there or were not there, we had our symposium last month in Boston. I feel like, let me just get to the next slide. I feel like this was the best symposium that we've had. We had a lineup of some really exciting featured speakers that kicked off the morning. A lot of rave reviews about these folks. It really got the symposium going. We had a great lineup the first day. I wanted to mention the second day. The second day is usually a smaller group of people. But what we did this time was we really focused on setting up a workshop for new users. I didn't know how that was going to go off because I said, oh, it's an I2B2 symposium. Everybody knows about I2B2. But come to find out, a lot of people are drawn to our conferences that don't know about it, want to know about it. And so our breakout session that was more of a, what is I2B2, like I2B2 101, was completely packed. I was afraid that it was going to be an empty room and we were just going to be recording it, but it was completely packed and it was exciting. So that tells us that people are interested in learning more about the symposium. So I think what we need to do as we move forward is actually think about having more workshops that are more focused on training and that type of thing. We had a great turnout this year. Bigger than before. Last year was a record breaking and this one was bigger. We had well over 400 registrations from a good part of the US. About half of the states had people that had registered, and about 20 different countries outside of the US also registered. So a nice mix of people. So that was kind of exciting for us. Of course, I always thank our sponsors that help us out with these conferences. And so here are our list of sponsors. And also, if you saw something at the conference or you weren't able to attend the conference, you can all of the recordings and slides are available on our website. So please visit the website, i2b2.org, and check it out. I do notice, I look at we store them on, we have a YouTube channel, and a lot of people are reviewing the slides. So pretty exciting. A quick mention, we have a wonderful board of directors that help us really focus on our future and our roadmap. We do have 2 open board seats they're available. So if you know of people or you're interested in joining the board, please let us know. Just a note, we do require at least 50% of the attendance at the board meetings. And the board also helps us keep the foundation alive. So a contributing sponsor, like a small company or AMC, would typically contribute 5,000 a year. A corporate sponsor is 20,000. Or if we have a sponsor that can help us sustain the foundation in other ways, help us with development, marketing, fundraising, that type of thing. That's also we'll get you in as a sponsor. So if you know of anybody, please send me an email. Let me know. Right. So I'm kind of excited. We've been over the past number of years that we've done some work to allow I2B2 to run on top of an OMOP database, and so we are now really focusing on expanding I2B2 and getting it out in front of the Odyssey symposium. So we had 4 abstracts. Let me just get through. Anyway, everybody knows how big the Odyssey Foundation is, and what a big group of people that it covers. So, but we had 4 abstracts that were accepted to the foundation. And some of the things we're focusing on doing with I2B2 is kind of rebranding. This is very early. I think this isn't even the most recent mock-up that we've put together, but rebranding it to make it more kind of fit with the Odyssey tool set. So I'm not going to say too much more about this. I think probably at our next meeting, we'll have a deeper dive where folks can start to demo some of the features that are working that will support the Odyssey group. But that's exciting. Anyway, here's the 4 abstracts that were submitted and accepted. Super excited about that. And then this is my last kind of pitch. We really want to tell a story about I2B2 and the work that you do and the success that has come out of using the I2B2 platform. So we'd love for you to use this platform as a way to showcase your work. So things like, if there was a publication that used I2B2, let us know about that. If you've developed like a novel like I2B2 plugin or something that works at your organization and you're proud of it and you want to talk about it, maybe contribute it back for others to use, or maybe just talk about how it supports your use case. It could be technical, it could be a scientific use case. We could present it at one of these meetings. We could open this up for broader presentations. We could present. We have a committee on technology where it's a smaller group of people that are more focused. But if you want to get the attention of that group of people, you can post your use case on a website. And Mitch will talk about the website and show that we have space on the website to really highlight the different organizations that are using I2B2 in a way to promote it. Or we also have monthly newsletters, so you can highlight your work there. We have probably about 2,500 people on our that receive our newsletter, and we have we're LinkedIn and Facebook and X, and so we from a social media standpoint, we have a fairly large reach. So certainly think about using this platform to help support your work. And that is my last slide. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody can stop me at any point, raise your hand and unmute themselves. Any questions for me? All right, let me stop sharing and I will turn it over to Jeff.
There we go. All right, I will share my screen and get going on mostly an update on I2B2 1.8.3, but a little brief review of where we've been going in the 1.8 releases. If you were at the symposium, then you saw a kind of a lightning speed version of this talk already, but I'll go into a little more detail here. So let's see, how do I advance presenter view? Just to click over there. Okay. So this is the ever-growing contributor slide of ITB2 contributors that is, a shout out to all the many people who've been involved in um, making ITB2 what it is over 20 years. It is now at over, I think, 300 institutions worldwide, including large networks like Enact in the US and things that many of us are familiar with on this call. So we've been releasing I2B2 1.8 came out at the end of 2023, and we've been, hitting about one release a year since then in the 1.8 series, and we're hoping to, in general, continue that pace. Though we want to get 1.8.4 out a little bit quicker than a year from now. The on the left, you can see the evolution of ChatGPT too, which is kind of interesting. Same prompt. These are the responses, the image responses over the last few years. I like the symmetrical nature. It's the best put together this year, I think. Yeah, it's looking good. All right, so reviewing a little bit of 1.8.x and into 1.8.3. 1.8.0 was the release that introduced the new user interface that replaced the old Commodore 64 colors with a much more modern look and feel. Since then, we've focused on data export. We had the first pass at data export in 1.8.1. We have advanced version with custom tables and data manager plugins that I'll very briefly show today in 1.8.2. And 1.8.3, we're focusing on providing tools for like the enterprise, for administrators to manage users and monitor activity. So it can be a real end-to-end enterprise-ready tool. We've also, in line with that goal, but also separately, we've been developing an admin tool. And so the team that did this revamped the very old ITB2 admin tool in 1.7 that never actually completely worked. And now it has, not only does it work, but it adds a lot of new features and continues every release to add new features. We are keeping up with security and latest versions of things. So as of 1.8.3, we're at Java 21, Wildfly 34, Access 2 v2. The new UI, this was the old style back before COVID. And this is the new style. The same general functionality, the same overall panes. The layout's changed a little bit. I think it really comes through when you're using the UI and you can resize everything and highlight things and drag things everywhere. It's very, very interactive. This is an example of breakdowns being redesigned, which is another big change that happened in 1.8.3. So this is a brand new breakdown type, and now if you have JavaScript abilities, can define your own breakdown type. This is an NIH enrollment table, and this one is showcasing the separation, the split of males and females in this population. It doesn't have any ethnicity or race information, so it's not very informative. But these tables are going to be, we think, really useful to people putting together NIH proposals. Diagnosis summary, you can now look at things in table form with tiny graphs on the right, and you can sort and filter and view things as bar charts or pie charts. So it's a complete rewrite of how the breakdowns work, and it's quite beautiful, I think. There's a pie chart. The next is a line graph, which we don't actually supply any breakdowns that use that in 1.8.3. We'll probably showcase that in 1.8.4, but it's there in the code. And I repeated a slide. The admin dashboard, we have new features. You could always edit users, but now there's quick authentication configurations, because if you're If you're setting your users up for NTLM, you have to add 3 specific parameters to their user parameters in order for the system to know how to log them in. And now some of that can happen automatically and have predefined templates for those authentication methods. You can also define new projects and data sources, and of course, the user and project management that's been there for a while. The 1.8.3 monitoring dashboard uh, is is closing the loop for large scale deployments, but it really is intended to provide monitoring capabilities that will allow administrators to watch what's happening in their ITV2 without having to go into the database. So there's I think I can show this live when I'm done with these slides. So maybe I'll go through this a little bit quickly, but you can see an overview of users and all projects. You can zoom in on a particular project and look at query activity at various resolutions. You can look at queries that have happened and kind of audit the query log if you're interested. Just as a reminder, 1.8.2, 1.8.1 introduced data export that went beyond the old CSV and Excel generator plugin, but something that was much more robust, where you could export CSV files that were long tables. They were similar to excerpts from the fact table split into domain, like medication diagnosis labs, which is useful, but a lot of non-informatics researchers want custom tables, like wide tables, like highest EGFR value or something like that. So with the new tooling in 1.8.2, you can define those tables. We also, for managers, we created a nice data mart. A data request management plugin, and it allows one to audit what data requests come in, and then with the click of a button can approve or deny a data request. So here's the custom table designer, where you can choose different ways. You pick a fact from the ontology, and then you can choose if you want a number of concepts, number of encounters, just the existence of it. There are many options, including additional options for query by value, like average lab value, mean and median, I think are both there. Then you can run a query using your custom table, and the manager will see that custom table request show up in the data request manager, where they can look at the query and they can export it if they so choose. Another reminder, but Diane already reminded us, that ITB2 supports OMOP as of, I think, 1.8.2 that was available on all databases. And it works, the very same exact I2B2 code on the client and server with just pointing to different things in the database. It's pretty remarkable that we're able to do that. There's a digital twin package that is available separately. It has 2 major components. One is a loyalty cohort tool that helps you find cohorts of patients that are more likely to have complete data based on proxies related to primary care. So patients that have regular visits, and men that are over 50 that have PSA tests and things such as that. It can improve the likelihood that the patient has complete data. And then computational phenotyping, of course, is a very complex and rigorously studied topic. And the tools Kessler and COMAP and also Phenorm allow one to, through some data analysis that involves using R, you can create silver standard, or you can review them manually, have gold standard phenotypes that are more accurate than just something like a ICD diagnosis code, because the ICD diagnosis code for diabetes, for example, does not indicate the patient has diabetes necessarily. It just indicates that they had a visit where diabetes was evaluated. So this is taking information, making it more useful, which is important to us. 1.8.3 is released, and you can pick up your kit at GitHub or at i2b2.org, which Niche will show us next. And i2b2.org.software, of course, is where you can download it. Community.i2b2.org is running again. It has some user interface issues, but we are also working on moving the documentation. Mitch will tell you about that. And there's the Google group, of course, that you can ask any question you want, even though it's called Install Help, and GitHub and Jira. So I think if it's okay, I will take a minute and do a demo of this. Password 9. All right. So I'm going to keep this pretty brief. I'm just going to use a diabetes query that I built earlier, which is just diagnosis code for diabetes. But here you can see the new breakdowns. So this looks similar to the last release's bar chart, but you can then change it to a pie chart and see the pie breakdown by ages. You can look at a table summary. You can even download a CSV, which is very useful. And then down here is an enrollment table. Again, it doesn't have much information except male and female, but you can also download a CSV of that, which is very good. So the usage, activity and usage monitoring dashboard I'll show also quickly. So here's the overview screen. There's been one new user in the last 30 days, but 32 in the last 180 days. And then I can zoom in on a particular project like Act 9, and there I can see that, there's been quite a few queries that month on that project. And the Act user, of course, was the primary querier because we pretty much do all our testing with the Act user. And you can look at queries over days, new users and queries over the last few days. You can also look at queries. And for this, I need to select the database. I put the wrong database. TBT something at 8. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, it's right there. I just wasn't looking correctly. Okay. And then I can see all the recent queries. Here's my diabetes query. I can see it finished in 1.8 seconds. And I can look at the XML query definition or the SQL query definition or the actual UI query definition. So the team has done some amazing work on this, and happy to show it off. And that's it for my update. Please give it a try and give us feedback on it. We haven't gotten a lot of good or bad feedback yet.
Anyone have questions for Jeff? If we have time. Sean has a question.
It looks really good, Jeff. With regard to the documentation, is there anything we still need to do? I went to the site, I was looking for some code, and it said something about a plugin not working to show the code or something like that. Maybe you fixed
So,
it already.
yeah, the community wiki still has some small issues. I haven't seen large chunks of text missing, but there are, if something's inside an indent plugin, for example, or a macro, not everything that's indented is inside an indent macro, but if it is, then it says error instead of displaying the text. So I haven't found an automated way to do that rather than just pulling them all out manually. So I'm doing it as people complain about particular pages. And I think Rita is going through like high value pages and trying to find anything that looks amiss on the ones that we know are used frequently.
Well, it's awesome work. And it- and we are under a lot of pressure to get that done because they were kind of slowly closing us out on that, the old wiki site. So really good job and in very short order. So really, really nice.
Thanks. We've all been working hard.
Mitch will show us
Uh-oh.
how to keep getting better and better. Like,
Let me see if I can share my screen. Just having some issues when we. Does this work? Can you
yeah,
see? Okay, perfect. Okay, so we only have a few slides, and then we're gonna just go right into. Okay, and you see the big slides, Diane? Good.
yep, it's good.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so we'll just do a quick review. This was a lot of the same that we've seen during the conference, but we really just want to talk about some of the behind the scenes why we wanted to modernize the I2B2 website. And so, of course, as Diane and Jeff mentioned before, we had an I2B2.org site that's been around for a very long time. We also have had an I2B2transmart.org site, which was for the foundation. And then we had, a community.i2b.org, which was kind of a on-prem Confluence wiki website that we set up that's been running, but it's been having some technical issues lately. So this was kind of the previous landscape. We had information in multiple locations, and so we wanted to uh, plan out and redesign a much more modern, web presence for I2B2. So we essentially have been targeting this kind of consolidated landscape for i2b2.org, which basically will include kind of the marketing for I2B2. So if somebody comes in and doesn't know what I2B2 is, we want to kind of convey and present, kind of a unified explanation of I2B2. Um, we also want to host core documentation on the website, the software releases, as Jeff has shown for 1.8.3. We wanted to make the announcements and a kind of a clear location on the i2b2.org website. And then also we want to include the foundation information. So not really maintain two completely separate websites. We want i2b2.org to represent both the software and the foundation and, and in a unified way. And then lastly, the community wiki, all of the knowledge base and so forth that's been around for a long time, we wanted to move this into the cloud Confluence. That way it's off of our kind of on-prem infrastructure that needs to be, maintained all the time to Atlassian's cloud infrastructure. So this is what the i2b2.org website. So just some screenshots. It's very mobile friendly and responsive. So on a computer, you would see on the left-hand side, or if you're on a mobile phone or iPad, the website scales as is. And I'm going to go on a demo, so just kind of going through this quickly. As Jeff also talked about, and then Sean just asked about, the documentation. So we are in the process and soon, hopefully to be done soon, and a reorganization effort for the documentation. And we would basically be hosting kind of the core documentation, the install, upgrade, the web client, release notes at attribute.org. This allows us to maintain a knowledge base that's kind of always accessible, but also hook it up with an AI-powered chatbot so that and any newer users or even technical users can ask some questions, and it will have indexed the various guides for I2B2 and hopefully point you at least into the right direction. And as I mentioned, we have this Cloud Confluence right now, which is the kind of the new community.i2b.org website wiki. And this thing here hosts currently all the documentation, which is just during a transitionary period, but it's going to continue to have, the community information and work group information and so forth. So this is kind of a new slide just about latest updates so far. So we set out to redesign the new i2b2.org website, and that is done. We also wanted to retire the on-prem community wiki, and this was kind of the transition to the cloud site, and that is done. And then we have been uh, transferring, content from the i2b2transmart.org website, which is the board of directors, and I'll kind of demo this also. The board of directors information, sponsorship information, and so forth, to i2b.org, so it's kind of in a unified, navigation. And then kind of the process right now is this, launching of this core documentation and reorganization effort and for the documentation. So I think live demo, let me just try to switch my screen to. Okay, so you should be seeing my browser, web browser. Okay, perfect. So this is the i2b2.org website, new website. And, the idea here really is we have this main, kind of modern landing page that tries to encapsulate the user, or kind of like, convey to the user really, or visitor, sorry, visitor to the website, really easily kind of what is I2B2, especially for those who come to i2b.org. They're told about I2B2, go check out the website, but they have no clue, what it is. And so this whole idea is about um, presenting to the visitor right away up front, this is what the query tool looks like, and then go into various forms of, integration with different types of data. And this is what Jeff mentioned, data integration with OMOP and RedCap and so forth, and transformation from other EHR systems. And then there's just an example workflow that we put together, just like from data to discovery. So these are things that sites in across the country right now who are using I2B2, this is the kind of the way they, some of the sites use it. And so, for example, obviously, finding a patient cohort using I2B2. As Jeff mentioned, especially in 1.8.3, we have expanded ways now to export aggregated data or full data sets from I2B2 directly. There's ways to take those CSV files and especially the aggregate data file that's being produced now in 1.8.3, that's perfect, kind of a perfect format to import into R or other SAS and other analytic platforms. And finally, a lot of this information and data science can be used to, compute phenotypes and design better algorithms and so forth. And then now, finally, this is just in addition, additional marketing material, just like what are people saying? Why do people trust I2B2? This is a work in progress. So we are improving kind of the verbiage, the getting more user feedback. As Diane asked, kind of a call to action. If you have any feedback or anything you want to feature on the I2B2 website, please reach out. And we are still adding new pages and adding new content, currently. And this is just kind of your typical frequently asked questions. What is I2B2? What are what are some of the integrations you can do with it, and so forth, and how does I2B2 protect patient privacy? Okay, so this is kind of just the landing page, your typical modern website that you scroll through. Uh, for the navigation up front, there's other um, parts, sections of the website, features, documentation, software, community, and then foundation, and so forth. And so for features, we go through just highlighting, of course, as you know, there's hundreds of features in I2B2, but this is just highlighting some of the things that I2B2 can do. Um, there's also, Spotlight. This is a work in progress, but this is just uh, highlighting, and then again, reach out. We can include, content, but this is just some of the uh, national projects that we started with, just to put something on the page, the Enact network, and so forth. As Diane mentioned, I2B2, we're attending the Odyssey conference, and therefore, this is another landing page about just OMOP and I2B2, how the two of them are really not competing, but they are synergistic and can work together, and so forth. So we kind of are just created a spotlight on that. And again, this is always evolving, so there's going to be additional pages and so forth in this features section. So the documentation link currently links to that cloud wiki that we've been talking about, which is the Cloud Confluence website that's hosted at Atlassian. We're going to be replacing this document link, or at least having another dropdown that brings it to that core chatbot type of documentation that you'll see hopefully soon. Just kind of jumping from Jeff's announcement of 1.8.3. So this is where the release is. So this is the various forms of quick install, the source code, and other ways that I2B2 is released, and you can get kind of the latest and greatest here. There's other sections of the website about community, and this is about the community meetings, of course, the meeting that we're in right now, and other things such as the symposia, contract support, various really great contractors and consultants that you can contact and reach to support your I2B2 instance, not just the technical, but other things as well. And then here, this is kind of just the last thing about the integration with the I2B2transmart.org website. We will in the future be redirecting I2B2transmart.org, the domain, to I2B2.org. But this is just talking about how what the foundation does, the history of the foundation, how it came to be, board of directors, and other information about the profiles of everyone, sponsorship information, and so forth. And I think finally the last thing that's kind of hiding here is this live demo. And so this is a neat way where anyone who just wants to try out I2B2, the software, we now provide different ways to just highlight the fact that I2B2, is role-based and has role-based access control. So depending on which type of roles that your users at your institution are assigned, they would see different things. And so now we're highlighting this kind of easily, And everyone here on the call knows, but there's there's an obfuscated role, there's the non-obfuscated one, manager. So this is what Jeff was showing. You can see the dashboards and so forth, and then the admin role. So the admin role is the only role that we don't provide a public demo for. But if anybody wants to, try out the admin tool, you can reach out, of course. So basically, we provide different username and passwords for, you know, launching the query tool demo. Then based on that login, you'll see different things, and your query behaves differently, like will be obfuscated and so forth. So that is about it for the live demo. I would just say again, um, for back to Diane's ask, if there's any way to highlight any use cases or any spotlights that you want to have us consider putting on the website, please reach out and we'll make sure that we can include as much as possible. Okay, I think I'm all set here.
That was awesome. Thank you, Mitch. Thank you, Jeff. A lot of good stuff. So let me open it up. Any questions, comments, suggestions?
This is Dave. I want to congratulate everyone who contributed to and attended the conference. Just a couple of things I've seen as really important. And I guess when I went through Jeff's presentation, there's just one slide on digital twin, and you had, here's the loyalty cohort and things. It's just those types of things get to be, when promoting the organization, so important. And the other thing, when looking at the website, thanks so much for the people who've been working on it, pulling it all together. But I guess I hadn't seen the demo before, being on the I2B2, .org website. And I think that's one of the best things we have going for us. When you drag and drop a previous query, you can kind of get instantaneously how this works. So maybe just a suggestion could be, if we came up with some use cases, personas of how some of those queries work, and load some of those things, and so people can really go in there. That was just a suggestion I had. So Nish and all those who helped, thanks so much for that.
Yeah, I think having more use cases, or more like, everybody, like, what's the world? The world is all like short little, blips. Nobody listens to like a 5 minute anything anymore. So a little flash of things to get people's attention, so people can start to understand, what this really does. And one thing about the old website was it didn't tell you anything about I2B2 or what I2B2 was. It was really just, we're in support of precision medicine, and all of those big words that are important, but don't really show us what we are. So I love Mitch did a great job to saying, no, this will tell the story. So kudos to him for sure. Any other thoughts or suggestions about how we can get out there and promote this?
We had some good, couple of good write-ups from the conference, and the Catalyst report that came out, the article came out, was really important. I don't know, maybe if there's more, demos, personas, here's diabetes tied to something new in the media, or something where we can point back at the tool or show a report or something, that would be a good thing for us, obviously, to do. So thinking about LinkedIn, I think we've got some play from Zach on X. But as you folks go through it about how you look at other organizations, I think it would be helpful for us to, get some of those ideas planted.
Great suggestion.
And when you're pursuing grants, is it, do you keep it quiet when you're pursuing a grant, and then when you get a grant, is it possible to publicize it? I'm not really sure how that works.
Sean, you want to answer that one?
Um, in the foundation, like we haven't characteristically gone for like a lot of NIH and those kinds of grants.
Okay.
We think it's a good idea, by the way.
Mhm.
We did participate in a UG3, which as the foundation, um, which for the CTSAs, which I think if we get it, we will definitely publicize it. But yeah, traditionally, I mean, I have to say, we probably underexplored this area in the past, years, right? Um, so we're, but participating as a foundation, as
Mhm.
opposed to participating, as one of our hospitals, which is the usual approach.
Okay.
It's a really good point.
Michelle, I see a hand up.
Yes. Um, I was thinking for the OMOP stuff, I mean, your angle right now is primarily sites that have OMOP and using I2B2 on top of it, but perhaps to or slow down some of the drift to that data model, part of the angle should be if you have an existing I2B2 that if you want to participate in OMOP, um, their studies or whatever, that I would highlight the export to OMOP feature, which definitely lowers the effort it takes to participate in an OMOP study. So right now, what people are doing are going through, spending a year trying to put their data into OMOP format, but we can programmatically do the export to OMOP format for the um, study that they want to participate in. Because when you're participating in a study, it's not using all of your data, it's using basically like a cohort. So I think one of the angles that you should promote is for people who have I2B2 and would like to keep their I2B2 CDM, it will be a flip of the button to export to be able to participate in an OMOP study. So
That's a really good point. So to me, it seems like a no-brainer to want to use I2B2 and OMOP together. And this is like just a whole other angle I never thought of. So
yeah.
Michelle, are you talking about your elegant transform that I
We can
used to
use
put
an
us?
elegant or we can use some ugly, but the reality is programmatically, if you have an I2B2, which is basically already to standard terminologies, is
Right.
much easier to get to an OMA than what people are going through to get to a whole data warehouse of OMA. And
Right.
it
Yeah.
it would allow people to get in those studies because I think right now they think that the only way to do it is to translate their whole um, ball of wax. And I think we need to kind of get people in the mindset that if you already have an I2B2, and I mean, honestly, from my perspective, having it in, the star schema actually is a very nice way to harmonize data. But for people who are already in there and are thinking about making a switch, I think we should make it known that we can get you there. If you want to be in a study, we can get you there, and it ain't going to be hard.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have a like a package tool that makes it like point and
Right,
click
but we
or
could do that. It wouldn't
type
take
and
much. I mean,
hit
we're,
enter. But
you know,
yeah, it does make it a lot easier, and we do have, with some hours of our help, anyone
yeah.
could do it.
So a couple, a week or two, we definitely can spit that out. So,
Yeah. Yep.
um, and definitely can get that done before you go to the OMOP conference,
Hmm.
symposium, whatever it's called. Yeah.
well, and so you need to go to that symposium too, and then you can like stand next to us
True.
Sign.
Yeah, but yeah.
But this is like, it's a really good point, but this is something that, you at Pitt spent some time working on. A little bit more time, we could package it up and make it part of, our core offering. There's also, we had a conversation a few days ago with the folks at Missouri who worked on making ITB2 work with Snowflake. And they're completely committed to that. And they've got organizations that are coming to them to understand how to make that work. So we've got to work closely, I think, we want to work closely with our community that have done things where if we do it just a little bit more to package it up and make it available.
Right. And Missouri has it over top of Picori as well. So, but we need to pursue those angles so that they can take advantage of the transforms, which to me are cleaner. And so, but we can do Picori, we can do OMOP. It shouldn't be a big deal. But we have to get the community to recognize that.
We can also spin up working groups that are specific around particular topics like that, where we pull people together instead of having general. This is more of a general meeting here, but we have a couple of working groups, but we can certainly spin stuff like that up as well, either as part of the foundation or organically. But we definitely think about that. Sean, are you talking? I see your mouth moving, but
Yeah, thank you, Diane. Thank you very much. So Michelle, are you thinking that, so kind of like right now, we have an export for all the medications in I2B2 format for a cohort that you make a query for, but you get the medications as a big file of medications, line item, right? Are you thinking we would do this, but output them in an OMOP format?
100%.
That's a great
So
idea.
that original slide that Jeff has,
Yeah.
that was the idea that I was thinking we were going to do for the enclaves. Like if people come, I'm thinking for a knack, but it's generic, right? If people come and they in their enclave they want to work in OMOP format, we can spit those tables out. I mean, we have almost all the code. It's just a little side project that I was working on for myself, but we could get that in production quality state, and it's just like the SQL to create a med table or like you already have in 1.82 or whatever of export. It's just another format.
Right.
Yep.
Another great idea from Michelle.
Other questions, comments? We have the community meetings every other month now. Certainly in between, if something comes up, definitely reach out. Just reach out directly and to any of us. I also, it's interesting, we had a board meeting a week before last, I think, and one of the board members said that her folks didn't even really know how to contact the folks from the foundation, how to reach out for help. So we do have the ITB2 install help Google group that will send a message out to all of us and also folks in the community who will help answer questions. So there is a way to get to us and ask us
You ever
questions.
think about creating another Google group that has an appropriate name?
I know, but then we have two and people will get confused. But we could do that, right? We could do that.
Can I ask, can we proxy them? Because Michelle's 100% right again, that the name is so misleading, right? In terms of I know it was created for that in the first place many years ago by Mike, I think. Good job, Mike. And then, but now, of course, people use it for everything, not just install. Can we just proxy it, not like, so install name still works, but also have another proxy. Is that possible? I don't even know.
With Google Groups, I have no idea.
I'd
Oh, it's a
say
good
like
idea.
have it go from like have two one. You have the install and then you have like the tech help. But they both go to the same.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Yeah. So it's
I
just a
think
proxy.
so.
Yeah.
I think you can. Because yeah, we floated this at our call recently.
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah, Mike, let's play with that because I think that would help. Then I could start to promote promote a new list that actually makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
Google says that you can if you have access to the Google admin console. Maybe you
Okay,
might be able
And who has access to that?
I don't
I
know.
do.
I think
I
you have to
do.
go to the
Oh, okay.
headquarters.
I have access. I don't know what to do when I get into it, so I'll have to.
We could do a Zoom call,
Yeah,
Diane.
let's put that on next time we meet, Mike. We'll do
Yeah.
that.
So do we want to call it ITV2 Tech Help? What do we want to call it?
I don't know. I agree to.
Are the people who are trying to find you, Diane, are they all tech people or are they different levels of people?
Not necessarily. It could be different people. I mean, this
So
is
maybe just say I2B2 help. I mean, I think it might
Yeah,
be a
I think
little
you're right,
bit,
Michelle. That sounds
people who aren't trying to be tech might be like, hesitant.
right. Right. Okay. All right, Mike. We will talk about that. All right. Well, we have eaten up our time. Any last questions, comments? If not, thank you so much for joining us and hope you have a great rest of the summer. Bye, everyone.